Today we're going to talk about your inner fish. And believe it or not, it all comes down to the story of a push-up. A push-up that happened 375 million years ago.
Seriously, have you ever done a push-up? Of course you have. Or, just leaned on your hands, propped yourself up on your elbows. It's so basic, right? We do it all the time without even thinking about it.
But have you ever stopped to wonder where that ability actually came from? I mean, the whole setup, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, all working together to hold you up. The answer? Well, it's way, way back in our evolutionary history. We're talking a time before a single one of our ancestors walked on land.
And that one simple question, it throws us right into one of the biggest mysteries in the history of life on Earth. How in the world did a fish fin turn into a limb? The arms and legs that we and all other land animals, what scientists call tetrapods, have today.
I mean, this was a huge deal, a total game changer. It's the evolutionary leap that allowed vertebrates to move out of the water and onto land. But for the longest time, scientists had this massive puzzle with a missing piece right in the middle. They had fossils of these fish with fleshy, lobe-like fins, and they had fossils of early land animals with legs. But there was just nothing in between, a huge blank.
And this is really the core of the mystery. Look at this. On the left, you've got this lobe-finned fish's fin. It's basically a paddle, right, with a whole fan of tiny bones inside. Then, on the right, you've got the limb of an early land animal. You can see a clear upper arm bone, forearm bones, and even the start of a wrist and fingers. So the big question for paleontologists was, how do you get from that to this? What kind of creature could possibly connect these two?
So finding this missing link, this fishapod, as some call it, wasn't just about wandering around and getting lucky. Nope, this was a full-on paleontological detective story. It was all about using the evidence to make a very specific prediction.
Okay, so the scientists didn't just dig anywhere. They narrowed down the timeline. They knew that rocks from about 365 million years ago already had animals with full-on legs, like Acanthostega. So that's too recent. Then they looked at rocks older than, say, 385 million years, and all they found were fish. That's too old. So they made a prediction. The sweet spot, the perfect moment in time for our transitional creature, had to be in rocks dated to right around 375 million years ago.
And get this, they didn't just know when to look, they knew where. They were looking for a very specific type of rock from that time, from an ancient, shallow, freshwater stream environment. They pulled out the geological maps and zeroed in on one of the few places on the entire planet where those exact rocks were exposed on the surface. And where was that? Ellesmere Island, way up in the Canadian Arctic. We're talking seriously remote, just 600 miles from the North Pole.
So after years of tough expeditions in this incredibly harsh place, their bet paid off. Big time. They found it. They found the fossil that was about to completely rewrite the story of this massive evolutionary leap.
So what was it? What did they actually pull out of that ancient Arctic rock? Well, it was a creature that was the perfect blend, something that completely blurred the lines between a fish and a land animal.
They called it Tiktaalik rosea. And that name, Tiktaalik, it actually came from the local Inuit elders. It means a large, shallow water fish, which, as you'll see, is just the perfect name for this incredible animal. Tiktaalik was just wow, a perfect mix, a true mosaic. On one hand, it was totally a fish. It had scales, a primitive jaw, fins, the works. But then you look closer and see all these features of a land animal. It had this flat, crocodile-like head with its eyes on top. You can just picture it peeking out of the water. And for the first time ever in a fish, it had a neck. It could turn its head. Plus, its ribs were big and beefy, strong enough to support its body out of the water.
But the absolute biggest reveal, the real mind-blowing discovery, was hiding inside its fin. Because this is where we find the secret, the anatomy that made the world's very first push-up possible.
So check this out. This is Tiktaalik's front fin. From the outside, yeah, it looks like a fin. But when you look at the bones inside, it's a limb in the making. There's no denying it. You've got one big bone up top, that's basically our upper arm. Then two bones below it, our forearm. And right at the end, this little collection of bones that form a primitive but working wrist and hand.
I mean, look at this comparison. It's just astonishing. On the left, Tiktaalik's fin bones. On the right, a human hand. The pattern is exactly the same. One bone, then two bones, then a bunch of little bones. It's all right there, a blueprint laid down 375 million years ago. This tells you that fin wasn't just for paddling. It was built to prop itself up. It was made to hold weight.
So you can just picture it, right? Tiktaalik is in some shallow stream. It could plant the base of that fin right on the stream bed, bend its shoulder and elbow, and push up. It could lift its body up to look around, or maybe get over a log or some rocks. As far as we know, this was the very first animal that could do that.
You could almost say it was one small push-up for a fish, but one giant leap for every land animal that would ever come after it.
Okay, so this is all really cool, but what does some ancient fish thing from the Arctic have to do with you and me? The answer is simple. Everything.
Here's the wild part. We're all basically just very, very fancy fish. Seriously. Every single land animal with a backbone, dinosaurs, birds, you, we're all just a part of the lobe-finned fish family tree that got really, really good at living on land. The basic body plan, the blueprint, it was all designed in the water.
The scientists who found Tiktaalik summed it up perfectly. They said our hands weren't some brand new invention that just popped into existence. Instead, they were built piece by piece over millions of years inside the fins of our fishy ancestors who were just trying to get by in their watery world.
So the next time you lean on your hands or do a push-up, give a little thought to Tiktaalik. Think about that incredible 375 million year story that's literally written in the bones of your own arm. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other parts of us are hiding that same ancient, watery history?